Antibacterial herbs. Contrary to popular belief, antibiotics don't cure all infectious conditions. Actually, they only kill off bacterial infections. But we get them prescribed to us for viral infections and everything in between, simply for the reason that antibiotics are great for treating the symptoms, even if they don't do squat for the underlying reason that those symptoms are there in the first place. That fight is left to your own immune system. This has led to a very serious problem that no one expected: antibiotic resistance. Now that we've been pumped full of this stuff for every case of strep, chickenpox, and the common cold, that did not do a single thing to kill the viruses that caused them in the first place, our immune systems have adjusted accordingly. Now when we really need antibiotics for actual bacterial infections that can kill us, the antibiotics that can save us just don't work anymore. The reason our bodies build up a resistance is because it actually needs about 98% of the bacteria in the body. Without them, we can't digest food, and they even kill off the bad bacteria that doesn't belong there. At the end of the day, we just don't need that prescription most of the time. The everyday ailments are handled by your immune system anyway. Natural antibacterial herbs don't kill every bacteria they come across, and they don't encourage your body to build up defenses against them like the pills do. They come in, recognize what doesn't belong there, add a little good bacteria to help with the fight, and they tackle the bad guys head on while relieving your symptoms in the process. So without further ado, let's look at some of nature's natural antibiotics, how to grow them and use them to their fullest advantage. Number 1. Garlic. Let's start with the two most obvious powerhouses that had the best results in scientific and medical studies: garlic and honey. Now, since this video is going to be about plant sorts, we'll skip the honey this time around. But it's still a good idea to keep it stocked up in the cupboard for small scrapes and bruises, and as an automatic inclusion when treating any bacterial infection, especially added to a hot cup of herbal tea. Garlic, however, has been through the ringer in the lab, and every time it comes out superior to even the pharmaceutical stuff. The main reason for this is because it contains astronomically high amounts of allyl sulfides, agone, and allicin. All of them have antibacterial and antiviral properties, and concentrated forms of them are used in modern antibiotics too. And since we're on the subject of antibiotic resistance, garlic's been put to the test as recently as 2022 to treat resistant strains of bacterial and viral infections to great success. You'll get a fair amount of it in your system as it digests in your stomach, but for optimal release of these compounds, give the raw garlic a slight knock beforehand with the flat end of a knife. You just need to break the outer layer. Garlic and onions are related to each other, and as you know, onion releases a mist that makes your eyes burn when the skin is penetrated. Garlic releases its compounds in very much the same way when it's broken up just a little. By letting it rest for 10 minutes before use, whether that be raw or in cooking, will give you twice the punch than it normally would. And most of us just attribute garlic to helping us with internal conditions, like colds and infections, whether they be viral or bacterial. And while this is absolutely true, we forget that it treats outward infections just as well. Viral, bacterial, and fungal. We told you garlic has no limits. Working raw garlic into a salve or tallow will make you stink, sure, but it's going to clear up your skin rashes and funky toes better than foot powder and steroid cream will. Otherwise, just cook it into your food as you normally would, making sure to have more garlic-infused dishes than you normally would when you're sick. Growing garlic isn't exactly hard either. They just need a little shade and some good nutritious soil and they'll be perfectly happy. And if your area is a little too hot for the cool climate plant, there are warm variety species out there if you ask around for them. Number 2. Echinacea. Echinacea is another one of those very well-known herbs that's in just about every medicinal garden. Seriously, no natural pharmacy should go without it. It's been around to cure the respiratory tract for centuries. Like garlic, it goes both ways, bacterial and viral. But since it's mostly known for the chest and the throat, people fail to realize that it's just as good for outward scrapes, rashes, and even to treat gum disease and tooth infections. And while it's treating whatever bug is trying to make a home in your chest or on your skin, it will reduce the swelling that usually comes with infections. The great thing about echinacea is that it's appropriate for children, the elderly, and everyone in between. Salves, teas, tinctures, there's no limit to how you can use it. Even a few petals in your warm bathwater goes a long way to treat your rashes, and it gives you a better night's sleep to boot. And it's not like you can kill it, no matter how bad of a gardener you are. Most people actively allow it to go a little wild between their vegetable patches because bees love it and it keeps bad pests away. It'll grow right until the snow comes, and when spring rolls around, it'll have thrown down enough seeds to replenish what the frost killed off. Seriously, they're so pretty and so easy to keep alive that it'll be a shame if you didn't take advantage of one of nature's most prolific natural cures that it gives to us so freely. Number 3. Oregano. Oregano is one of those back-of-the-rack herbs that you almost only see in Italian cooking, and given that it's got a relatively mild taste, people don't really bother keeping it permanently in their kitchens. This is an absolute tragedy. Oregano is one of the most well-rounded herbs from a medicinal standpoint that you can find. It's easy enough to grow that you'll always have a fresh supply at hand. And when you use it fresh, its flavor is amplified so much more than the dehydrated herbs in the grocery store are. It's got a great deal of antioxidants in it, which will help you expel any foreign invader. But it's in the carvacrol where the magic lies. This compound has shown to be effective against mutant strains of Streptococcus, and it even manages to put up a good fight against the notoriously resistant staph infections. Outside of fighting bacteria inside and outside, it also treats acne, parasites, warts, indigestion, and heck, even dandruff. Warm compresses are good for arthritic joints and overworked muscles. But no matter what you're treating, it needs to be concentrated as much as possible. Give your bushes a trim and boil it down for 20 minutes. More if you want to add it to salves, to get the optimal amount of punch. Again, nature's given us a powerhouse that'll grow anywhere. All it needs is sunshine and not to be too heavily overwatered, and you'll always have more than you know what to do with. Unless you have chickens. They absolutely love it. And it's great to fight off parasitic infections and mites for your hard-working egg layers. Number 4. Aloe. Aloe is often overlooked as a staple in medicinal gardens, just because people think that it's hard to grow them. But they grow just as easily as any other succulent would, and with just as little effort. They just need heat and a little space, because they can get quite big and they'll appreciate the extra room to stretch out in. Aloe is mostly used for outward skin conditions to treat everything from simple rashes, acne, scar removal, and even more serious conditions like psoriasis. But the plant actually contains a great deal of polyphenols. They stop bacteria cultures from growing and spreading, allowing your white blood cells to come in and kill off the bacteria that can't multiply anymore. Then the antioxidants come in and expel the lot, both dead and alive, from your system. It's going to cost you a pretty penny to get the plant, Or you can grow them from cuttings if you know someone who already has one. If it's hot and you have a little corner to spare, you'll have one of the best bacterial fighters at your disposal for many generations. And a nifty wrinkle remover, too. Number 5. Wormwood. Wormwood is a relatively unknown herb sort, since it originates from northern Africa and the Middle East. It's most often used by farmers and homesteaders to treat parasites in their livestock, so its use as a human medicinal aid gets overlooked. It has a compound called terpene, the same compound that gives camphor its strong odor. Camphor is the stuff that goes into Vicks VapoRub, in case you were wondering. Terpene is good for treating all of the soft tissue infections, including those inside the mouth. It can be added to teas and eaten raw to treat internal bacterial infections, but it's so horribly bitter that very few people go to the lengths to consume it, even though it's perfectly safe to do so. Even farmers need to snipper it fine and hide it amongst other, tastier feed to trick their animals into eating it. By adding it to more pleasant-tasting antibacterial herbal treatments like honey and mint, you can increase your intake by a lot more than you would if you were eating it on its own. But mostly we mention it for outward conditions, because that's where the lab results agree overwhelmingly. It's been used in its raw form to treat surgical scars instead of antibiotics in mice, to great effect. And it's on this list because it's so easy to grow that it's more equivalent to a weed than anything else. If there's enough heat and just a little bit of water, wormwood's going to take over every inch of your garden if you allow it to. Number 6. Cayenne pepper. All of the chili peppers have antibacterial properties, but cayenne peppers have some of the highest concentrations of vitamins and minerals that you can ask for. Everything from your various B and K vitamins to minerals like iron and magnesium. Honestly, the list of what cayenne contains is so long that we should just make a whole video dedicated to it instead. It's on our list because of the capsaicin that it contains. That's also what gives peppers and chilies their burn. Capsaicin doesn't fight infection, but it does reduce inflammation by an enormous amount, allowing your white blood cells better passage to come through to do the fighting. Then it's followed by all those antioxidants to dispose of the dead cells that your immune system took care of, and it brings in all of the vitamins and minerals you need to rebuild all of the cells and tissue that got damaged in the height of the infectious stage. We cannot stress just how well it treats inflammation. Even debilitating arthritis is treated by adding more spice to your diet. And there's nothing special about how you need to get it into your system. Just a few flakes and a whole lot of flavor is going to give your system the boost it needs to get fighting. Diabetes, blood pressure, weight loss, colds and sores, skin, digestion and joints, cancer and dental health. Name a condition and a bowl of spicy chili is going to get you halfway to curing it all, or at least give your system the tools it needs to do so all on its own. Chilies and peppers of any kind are considered the perfect beginner plant for anyone starting a garden. In your windowsill or in the raised bed, they just need sun, good soil, and a dish waiting to receive them. Number 7. Mint. We equate mint with relief from congestion and see it as nothing more than a relief of the symptoms brought on by colds and allergies. But there's a lot more to this devil of a garden invader than just clearing up all that backed-up snot in your nose. Its antibacterial properties is the main reason it's used in toothpaste, not just because it tastes good. You have to realize that gum disease was one of the most prolific killers in ancient times. Getting a tooth infection was often a death sentence. But the introduction of toothpaste has eradicated even the memory of how deadly it could be, and that's all thanks to the introduction of mint and all of its cousins. Spearmint, peppermint. It doesn't matter what kind you have. They come with all of the good stuff you need. Mint actively kills germs, any kind of germ, be that viral or bacterial. So obviously it's going to be good for any bacterial infection you have going on from your mouth all the way down to your rectum. That entire digestive tract will be cleansed out of anything that had plans of multiplying with just a simple cup of peppermint tea. Blood sugar, blood pressure, weight loss, digestion, and stress. Mint's good for all of it, and it'll destroy any invaders just like it destroys other plants with its prolific creepers that can spread far and wide. So please, keep it in a pot and give it regular trimmings, or it'll get out of hand. Number 8. Thyme. Thyme, as unassuming as it is, actually tackles some big league bacterial infections, E. coli, Listeria, and MRSA. Back in the day, it was used as a disinfectant for surfaces as well as wounds. It's so good at killing germs and contagions that it's even a pretty good organic option for disease control in the garden. Its ability to kill germs should tell you all you need to know about it, and it translates those disinfecting properties to the inside of the body, too. There's a whole host of things it can aid, from chronic conditions like diabetes, blood pressure, and asthma, all the way to your everyday bugs and dicks. Having it regularly as a part of your diet is a great preventative measure. But when you're sick and you want the absolute most of the benefit, it needs to be concentrated by boiling a whole bunch of it down. It can be drunk as is, once it's cooled down, of course, or had as an addition to tea and tinctures. For all of your skin infections, that concentration can be worked into tallow or a water-based cream to work as a salve. And then, of course, it can be had raw, too. But thyme is so strong in its concentrated form that it can kill off the natural, good bacteria in your gut, just like antibiotics can. So keep some probiotics at hand to replace the good microbiome in your gut. It does everything that antibiotics do, just without the antibiotic resistance that comes from overuse. And like all of the other herbs on our list, it's a simple little plant to keep alive. It just wants sunshine and a regular trim. Keep your climate in mind to get a variety that likes your weather. Some varieties are slow-growing, whereas others are so prolific that they can be a bit of a monster to control. So do your research. Honorable mentions. And finally, there are a few very good antibacterial plants that we've avoided mentioning, just because they might be a little harder to grow. Cinnamon, turmeric, and ginger are up there in antibacterial properties, but both require very specific conditions in which to grow. Sundews, the carnivorous plant that's very similar to the more popular Venus flytrap, have a very interesting medicinal repertoire, but again, it's a terribly finicky plant to grow. Acacia and juniper trees are large and very reliant on specific climates. And it's illegal to grow cannabis, but luckily, buying hemp oil is perfectly legal and readily available. But maybe you do have access to the more exotic bacterial fighters available to you. If you do, please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear about your experiences. And the same goes for those of you who already have a medicinal garden that's overflowing with all of the goodies that Mother Nature designed just for us humans to stay healthy. Let us know in the comments below. And like always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with other naturalists like yourself. Until next time, love the land, love yourself, and get planting.